If you were not already convinced that Go is the giga shadow language, then I have a perfect article for you. You can read here, just effing use Go, hey dip. You know what compiles in 2 seconds, deploys as a single binary and doesn't S itself when a transitive dependency gets yanked from NPM at 3 a.m. Go! The same way that HTML has been sitting there since the dawn of internet, waiting for you to stop overcomplicating the front end. Go has been sitting there for over a decade, waiting for you to stop overcomplicating the back end. But no, you are out there gluing together 15 node packages, 3 TypeScript build tools, and a Kubernetes cluster to serve a effing form. You hired a platform team to babysit your Rails monolith. You convinced your CTO that Rust was necessary for a CRUD app that does maybe 40 requests a second. Congratulations, hole. You played yourself. Yeah, there are a lot of inappropriate words that I don't think should be said on YouTube. So, yeah, but a great way to arguing with using F and all of that. That really convinces people and gets your argument across when you use all these curse words. But yeah, great. The language is boring on purpose. You know why Go feels boring? Because it is, and that's the point. There are no decorators, no meta classes, no macros, no traits, monads, or whatever curse abstraction the Haskell crowd is huffing this week. What about functional programming and all that? There are structs, functions, interfaces, Go routines, and channels. That's it. You can read a spec on a lunch break and be productive that afternoon. Yeah, but that's great things, I think, to be a bit restrictive. I think they finally added interfaces to Go, even though like they restricted for a long time. But they have been very like cautious and careful about what they add to the language. People are requesting a lot of features, but they intentionally want to keep Go small. Partly like to not overcomplicate the language, but also to have fast compile times. Like the other end of that is C++ that has added whatever, and some things. I think they had like modules, was something that wanted to add to C++ that they added to the standard, but that was too difficult to implement in practice. I think they removed that from the standard. But yeah, C++, that's just complete opposite. That's so slow to compile. So when they made the Go, they wanted to keep fast compile times. That was one of the goals with the language. Boring means the junior you hired the last month can read the code the principal wrote 2 years ago. There's exactly one way to format it, and Go FMT already did it. You clever coworker can't sneak a 17-layer abstraction into the code base because the language won't let him. That's what shipping looks like when nobody's drooling over their own cleverness. Yeah, that's nice, good attributes of the language. The standard library is the framework. Stop looking for a framework, you're absolute walnut. The standard library is the framework. So here he has some example, package main, he's importing embed, HTML and HTTP. And here he reads some templates from a folder and then serves at the root here, and then it returns index, and he can insert some keywords into the HTML that gets rendered. So yeah, rendering a template here and listening on some port. That's a working web app. HTML templates compile into the binary. No webpack, no Vite, no dev server, no node modules the size of a effing Volkswagen. You go build and you ship one file, drop it on a server, done. Yeah, that's what I like with Go. These things that you only get one binary, and very easy to copy and paste, and you don't need any more dependencies or so at the person where it's going to run it. For instance, with Python or something like these interpreted languages, then the user needs to install Python if you don't bundle it somehow. But with Go, it's much simpler. It's just one static file that has all dependencies built into that file. You want a database/SQL, JSON, encoding/JSON. Want to talk to another service? Net/HTTP is also a client. Want to do 5 things at once? Slap Go in front of it. Tests, Go test. Benchmarks, Go test-bench. A profile. pprof is already there, laughing at your console.log debugging. And that's a bit like batteries included mindset, and that's what Python is also known for. That It has such a rich standard library, so you don't that often need to reach out for other things. So it's nice that Go has that as well. The std_lib is also effing deep. IO reader and IO writer are two interfaces with one method each. They are also the reason you can pipe an HTTP response body into a gzip writer into a file on disk in 3 lines without thinking about it. Every serious package in the ecosystem speaks them. Once you grok that, half of Go's magic turns out to be the same 2 interfaces showing up everywhere. And that's nice that they have made it so simple with just one method each here. Context.context is how you cancel things. A user closes the browser tab, the request context cancels, the database query cancels, the downstream HTTP call cancels on the way down. No leaked Go routines, no zombie queries chewing through your connection pool. You pass it as the first argument and you respect it. That's the whole API. So I have been coding a lot of C# and they have something called a cancellation token. So that's have also the cancellation token source where you can get the cancellation token from. But that's something similar that you can pass to the methods that you call. So you get it from like ASP.NET and then you can pass it down to your business logic and then further down to entity framework that does the database calls. And if the user navigates away and then the request gets cancelled, then it can cancel down and cancel the database call. But in practice, I don't see it that often in the code bases I've been. It's quite rare that people actually use a cancellation token. So I think people find it annoying that you need to pass it into methods. Okay, here and they have an example. Here you get the cancellation token source, and then you take the token and pass it into a method and cancellation token. Here you have it, and then they use the token here, and if the request gets cancelled, then it propagates down. But in practice, I think people find it annoying to pass this, and then you rarely see it. At least I haven't seen it that often. But maybe it's a bit of different culture than in Go that you pass it, even if it looks not that pretty or something. And that's good if people respect that. Encoding/JSON, encoding/XML, encoding/CSV, encoding/binary, all in the std_lib. Same struct tag pattern, same decode into a pointer ergonomics. Learn one and you basically know them all. That's good. That's I guess they have learned from other languages as well. Some have been like incrementally built, Go as well, but some have quite owned APIs and new ones at the same time, and and it's getting a mix of everything. But it seems like Go then has learned from those mistakes and have a bit more uniformity within their standard library. Concurrency that doesn't make you cry. Go routines are not threads. They are stack full multiplexed into OS threads by the runtime, and they cost about 2 kilobytes to start. You can spawn 100,000 of them on a laptop. Try that with your node event loop and watch it shit bed. Channels are typed pipes between Go routines. You send on one end, you receive on another, and the runtime handles the synchronization. If you need shared state instead, sync mutex is right there, and the race detector will tell you when you screwed up. And here he has some example of that. That's a parallel HTTP fetcher, no library, no framework, no async await ceremony. The language does it. Yeah, that's often what people say about Go, that it handles concurrency very well. So if you're building like a web server, then Go is very suitable for that, being able to handle multiple threads at the same time, and the threads are very cheap, and async await, and those things, it just works very well with Go. A real example, not a hello world. Here's a CRUD root reading from Postgres and rendering HTML, the whole thing. So here you have some template and a struct of a post, and then some posts handler, and this is it. It returns some function. Here we can see it does some database query, and it returns rows, and here it iterates over the rows, and he has an array of posts, and he appends them here, and then renders the template. So yeah, quite nice. Nice that you don't need any framework. You can just use basic code within the language and not having to add anything. Database templates and an HTTP handler in one screen. Request context wired through to the query, so a closed connection cancels the SQL. No ORM. No DI container, no service layer, no controller/directory with 17 abstract base classes. So this ORM, so it's an object relational mapper. It's quite common. Like I mentioned, the entity framework in .NET. So that's one example of one. Instead of writing the SQL yourself, and then there's some abstraction layer above that. And this with the DI, that's dependency injection. It's also common in .NET that you would inject classes in that way. But I like this simpler approach. I think with like .NET, it becomes so much boilerplate with all these things that people just do for the sake of it, because that's how you write software. But it's nice here. It seems like it's a little bit new philosophy with going a little bit more simpler and basic. You can read it top to bottom and know exactly what it does. Dependencies that don't ruin your weekend. Go mod init. Done. Your dependencies live in go.mod and go.sum. The sum file is a cryptographic record of what you actually got, so you can tell when somebody pulls a left pad on you. There is no node modules directory, and there is no lock file drift between dev and CI. There are no peer dependencies, no optional dependencies, no dev dependencies, no peer dependencies meta. There is one file that lists what you use, and one file that proves you got what you expected. You want offline builds? Go mod vendor drops everything into a vendor directory, and the tool chain uses it automatically. The whole project, dependencies, and all fits in a 𝗘𝗏. Your security team will weep with gratitude. Yes. That's nice. It seems like they've simplified a lot of things here. The tooling ships with the compiler, so Go FMT formats your code. There is no debate. There is no prettier holy war. So nothing with your own preferences for how to format the code. The format is the format, and everyone uses it. Your diffs stay small because nobody's rearranging white space. Go vet catches the obvious mistakes. Go test runs your tests. Go test the -race runs them with the race detector and finds the data races you thought you didn't have. Go test -bench runs benchmarks. Go test -cover tells you what you missed. Go 𝗘𝗏𝗏 gives you flame graphs of CPU and memory usage from running production service through an HTTP endpoint you wire up in 2 lines. None of this is third party, none of it is a plugin, and none of it requires a config file you have to maintain. It's in the box. Yeah, that's very nice. I think many languages have, that are newer have learned these things. I think Rust was one of the first that shipped with the cargo for how to handle dependencies. Like with these system languages like C++ and C before that. And so that's just a mess with all build systems and how to handle dependencies. And then Rust came and they learned from that and shipped cargo. So now everybody like builds and handles dependencies in the same way. And then other languages like Go here, and they've also learned those things that ship something standard, and then people use that instead of coming up with new things. So then it's much easier to write software that works together. Deployment is a copy command. This is the part that makes Rails and Node people physically angry. You build a Go binary, you copy it to a server, you run it. So here we have it. It's Go build, and then you get your output binary. SCP is to copy something over SSH. So you copy the binary here to the server and where to put it on the server, and then connect to the server and start it with systemctl. So that's a systemd on Linux. So that was everything for how to build and deploy it. 3 commands, done. No Docker file, no multi-stage build, no base image CV alerts every Tuesday, no Kubernetes manifest, no Helm chart, no Argo CD, no service mesh, no sidecar. These last things I don't really know, but this with the microservices and Kubernetes, I think it's often overkill. I think it's good if you start something small and just get it out. This with services and Kubernetes and on that, when you start to building into microservices, it's so much unnecessary overhead for most people. You rarely reach into that scale when you need to have all these extra things. A 12 megabyte statically linked binary and a 20-line systemd unit file is a production deployment. It will outlive your career. The only reason to reach for Docker is if your ops team is contractually required to use it. And even then you can shove the binary into a from scratch image and call it a day. Yeah, that's nice. You don't need anything complicated even if you do Docker. But what about Rails /Django /Express /Next? What about them? Rails needs a deploy ritual involving Capistrano, 3 config files and a goat. Django wants you to learn its ORM, its admin, its middleware system, and its opinions about everything. So Django I have used in the past, and I actually liked it. But yeah, sure, it's some things to learn and some things for making it run and set up. So I didn't think it was that complicated. But yeah, if you can reduce it, sure, why not? Express is held together with NPM, audit warnings and prayers. Next.js changes its routing conventions every 6 months and gaslights you about it. Yeah, the JavaScript community is quite infamous for changing and refactoring and all that all the time. Your Go binary doesn't care. It compiled and it runs, and it will still run in 5 years on hardware that doesn't exist yet. Your framework deprecated by Christmas, and the maintainer will write a Medium post about the burnout. But microservices, no. Write the effing monolith. 1 Go binary, 1 Postgres, 1 Redis if you absolutely must. Serve HTML on the same port that serves your JSON API. Run it on a single VPS that costs less than your monthly oat milk budget. Scale that to 10,000 requests per second without breaking a sweat, because Go was literally designed for this and Go routines are cheap as hell. When you actually need to split it up and you won't, splitting a Go monolith is just moving packages into their own repos. The interfaces are already there. You designed for it without trying because the language made you. Yeah, I agree with this monolith. It has been quite, people have disliked monoliths and talked badly about them, but now it's more coming back with modular monoliths or majestic monoliths they're now called, and I think that's the right way. I think people are a bit tired of this with the microservices, and it's so much overhead with splitting your code base into so many pieces and managing and running them and all that. It's so much easier with just a monolith and having everything together. But generics, but error handling, but no exceptions. If error is not nil, is the feature, not the bug. It forces you to look at every place something can go wrong and decide what to do about it. Your try-catch nesting hellscape doesn't make errors disappear, it just hides them until production at 2 a.m. Yeah, this I agree with. I think it's also, you see that in newer languages where you have nullable types. And even in like C# they have added it afterwards. But you see it like in Swift, it's a bit more modern, there you have nullable. And then when you want to use a value that might be null according to its type, then you need to like unpack it before you're allowed to use it. So I think this strategy is nice here, that you're forced to deal with it where you're handling that value and consider what would happen if there was an error there. Generics landed in 1.18. They are fine. Use them when you need them. Stop whining. Yeah, so they finally came to Go, even though they were holding out, but in the end they were added. Just effing use Go. Stop pretending you need a framework. You don't need microservices either, or a Rust rewrite, or whatever JavaScript meta framework launched last Tuesday. That's going to save you when the last 6 didn't. Yeah, that's quite funny with JavaScript. So many competing frameworks, and there's always something that's better or worse with one or the other, and people are debating and changing and refactoring, and it's never perfect. You always need to find something else. And also like with the build systems with Webpack. I remember before it was Grunt and then Gulp, and now it's Webpack, and who knows when it will be replaced by something else. Open your editor, run go mod init, write a main.go, embed your templates and compile, ship the damn thing. The boring choice is the right choice. It always was. I think in the philosophy behind Go and how they have designed it, I think it's completely right. I think they've done a lot of right things. I agree a lot with this post. I think it's spot on. Maybe it didn't need all these curse words to convince you of using it, but ignoring that, I think it's completely right what the author is writing. Please leave a comment and tell me, are you convinced of using Go? And we will see each other another time. Bye bye!